Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for everybody. If you're watching this in a recorded fashion, my name is Guilherme Ferreira. I'm a principal consultant at FivexL. We are here again with the FivexL Live, where we discuss news and tools, announcements, and we also discuss one technical topic per live. I have here today Andrey and Vladimir. You want to say hi to everybody
Hello to you, people of the future.
in the future? Yes. Yeah. Great. Vladimir is in a different place today, but it's nice to have you here today as well, Vladimir.
Yeah, right. Hi, everyone. My name is Vladimir, and I am CTO and technical consultant at FivexL. And yes, place is a bit different. And today I am in Oslo, Norway. So different places, many of them.
There is a holiday in Norway, isn't it?
No, we better say it is not holiday. We better say like that. Norwegian guys teach me how to react on that one.
Okay.
Interesting.
Was it?
Yeah. Andrei is based in sunny Las Palmas, right? I believe, because I see the sun behind you.
Yeah, yeah. We're starting to get summer. It was a it actually was weird spring, so we had a little bit of clouds going on. So it was on the chilly side, which would be maybe about 23 degrees, which is considered to be chilly here. And like usually in July, you would have it around 28, 30.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to get this, but not before. So the weather would start warm up in May, but
Yeah.
haven't been so. But also, Vlad and I were traveling, and I think that might open some of our news for today.
Yeah, of course. Let's go to the topics because the weather is an interesting topic, but maybe not so much. News and tools. So let's start with the news. I know you guys have been traveling around the world and attending some summits, AWS summits across the globe. And I will start with you, Vlad. I know you've been to Bangkok, right?
Yes, it's true. Like a week ago, I was in Bangkok and I was a speaker in a developer lounge. And I talked about a Bedrock Studio, what we discussed here a bit earlier. You know that. So stay tuned. Stay watch 5XL news. We are a bit ahead of the summit. It's a joke, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's a very nice summit that a lot of people attend there, and it was an anniversary. It's the 10th summit number 10 in Bangkok.
Yeah.
And also it was announced that AWS region Bangkok will be available next year. So it's also a nice news. So it was a huge event this time. So nice to be there.
Yeah, that's great. Great to see the picture. A lot of people paying attention to you, which is great to see, right?
Yeah, it was
Nice, man.
a silent disco one more time, but it's
Yeah,
a very nice way how to present a topic because everyone is
yeah,
actually focusing on the
yeah.
discussion. So it's a good one.
Yeah, great, great. And did you have any space for like questions and clarifications at the end of your talk?
Yes, it's in
Yeah,
my LinkedIn. If someone want to ask any questions,
yeah.
yeah, I shared the slides of a presentation. So right below the slides, you can ask questions in the comments.
Awesome, awesome. And you guys also been to Stockholm, right? Sweden. How was
Just
it?
back from just back from Sweden, yes.
Yeah,
This is a very special photo
yeah. Tell me.
because here you can see us down bottom,
Yes.
which you usually don't see. In a remote company, you usually see as much of a person, and
Yeah,
here you can see the whole person. That's
yeah,
not happening very often.
yeah.
Oh yeah, we had a great time. We attended AWS Partner Summit on Monday, and then was followed up by the actual summit on Tuesday. We haven't spoke this time. Or we actually been also on the meetup on Monday, and then was a community dinner on Tuesday. There was like a lot of events going on at the same time. I know the AWS ambassadors stayed for another day, and they had Ambassador Summit on Wednesday. So like ton of events going on, but a lot of networking, and we got the chance to talk to the AWS teams to learn more, and also reconnected with some old friends. So it was a great time.
Great.
And the weather was amazing. I mean, it was like plus 25. You don't get that very often in Stockholm.
Yeah, definitely not. And I don't know if everybody is aware of it, but FivexL is an AWS partner, right? And recently we got some promotion. Of course, we're gonna talk about this topic in a little bit more detail in the future, but I just want to emphasize that FivexL became an advanced AWS partner. So congratulations to the entire team. We are happy and proud of being part of the network.
I would say we got recognized as advanced partner.
Yeah,
we've been advanced partner. I mean, we were quite advanced for the whole time, but now we are officially recognized as advanced partner in the AWS partner program.
Awesome. I also saw some pictures on LinkedIn related to the summit in Stockholm. What is your, I would say, main takeaway or main lessons that you guys got there that we could share with the community?
Yeah, I think it's a nice place for networking because a lot of bad engineers attend the summit. So not just from AWS team, but from other companies as well. And just all of general attendee and the people in Stockholm in general, they're very technical. So it's a lot of places for discussions, exchange contacts and follow-up letter. So, and also with the AWS partner program, we find a lot of information related to our future. So it will be a lot of discussions when FivexL. So we get information for maybe for next month or months, who knows. So it's a lot of things to do.
Awesome.
I got to talk to a couple of technical people from AWS. I'm generally interested in the GenAI and productivity suite from AWS, which is now being rebranded to Amazon Q. So it used to be called Guru this, Guru that. Now everything, like you also had Code Whisper, so Code Whisper got rebranded to Amazon Q for developers, and like this part interests me quite a bit. And there was Amazon Q team there with whom we spoke, and I want to do the couple of workshops actually on that topic, to offer people workshops on that topic, to offer our customers workshops. And I've been using the Code Whisper and Amazon Q extensively myself. So I came to the team saying like, I'm doing this and that. Am I missing something? Are there features that I'm not aware of? And they said, yes, there actually are. And if you've seen the code catalysis demos where you ask Q to develop a feature for you, that's actually available also in the Visual Studio integration. So you don't need to use code catalysis. You can actually ask Q in a Visual Studio, like, develop this feature for me. And we'll come up with a plan, we'll generate your files. So I wasn't aware of that integration. And I'm actually planning to use it next week when I'm writing the tool that I'm using for uploading podcasts.
Yeah, great. Can I bring up the Amazon Q slide now? Is it a good time?
We can. We do have the announcements.
Yeah.
And that comes together with it, right? So you did have Amazon Q for CLI that you could install, and that one was quite useful since it was integrated with AWS really well. And for instance, it would, when you use AWS CLI, it would give you autocompletes for the commands. And like when you use AWS CLI, you always need to check help because you don't remember all the options. And that thing would actually bring it up for you and let you choose. But it would also actually go use your local AWS credentials and look up stuff for you on the your AWS account. So for instance, if you would type AWS S3LS, it will give you a list of buckets in your command line, and you can choose straight away from there. It will give you the list of prefixes and stuff like that. So it actually makes your life much more easier. But that was all empirical, so it was kind of built into the tool. Now they also have AI there, which analyzes the context of your previous commands you typed in the CLI and trying to guess what you're gonna do next based on that and giving you autocompletes. So here they have example of the push command, so it will tell you you did a push. I got an update locally, and so far it's been quite good, but I'm interested to see how it will behave, like if you take the Git context. So for instance, you have failed rebase. I'm interested to see what it will suggest. So I haven't got that situation yet, but
yeah, we can also mention that Amazon Q is a very nice tool for make code more secure. It's a very interesting feature, like as when you save your file with the code, Amazon Q will scan that file for from a security perspective, and it's quite interesting because everything is shifting to the left as possible, because saving file is the most left possible place. So it's like it's even before the CI/CD. So it's let developers fix them issues on their side. So because in the past you have to run CI/CD, it's a blame you, it's oh, here's you wrong, here's you wrong. So it's a bit annoying, and not everyone feel happy with that approach. But now everything is happened locally. So, and the developer able to think, oh, okay, I can fix it before make a commit. So it's still a bit better.
Yeah, I fully agree. I like the Q developer free tier they have available, because you can test it out, right? You don't need to commit yourself, pay anything. Of course, there are a few features that are paid, right? I believe the security scanner is paid, if I'm not mistaken, right?
The scanner could be very limited in a free tier. Maybe just 5 scans per month or kind of that. You still can try it, but it will be limited. But in a pro version, the limit is huge. It's maybe it's a huge one.
Yeah.
Another thing is that they changed pricing as well. So with you used to pay per number of lines scanned.
CodeGuru it's for CodeGuru, yeah. It's maybe not yet. I'm not quite sure. Maybe CodeGuru is still not yet renamed, right? It is some kind of insight, right? So, but yeah, in the future, yeah, we are looking forward for getting new pricing model, because per 100,000 lines of code in terms of change, I tried to calculate by myself. There's a way how to do it. It's possible, but it's difficult to predict. And it's kind of like, as you know, stop people to write code. Like it's always too expensive now, or it's a bit hard to do. It's not predictable.
Yeah, there are a few more things to mention about this. Is the fact that using different models when you work with IDE. So depending what mode you're using, like if you're using like /dev, like that's where you can talk to the queue and ask it to develop the feature. If you're using /dev, it will use one model. If you use /transform for refactoring, and like refactoring, you can say like I have this code and it's using the old version of Java, make it use the latest version of Java, and that could go and actually update your code, which is super great. You never want to do this yourself, really, like those updates of the code. I asked, could it do, for instance, update of the Golang SDK v1 for AWS to Golang SDK v2 for AWS, which I have like tons of codes available using SDK v1, and that needs to go to v2 because v1 being deprecated. No, that's not yet working. So the Golang is still kind of coming there, but they're working on adding more languages. There seems to be a lot of focus on the Python and Java. The Python works for me fine, and I guess there are a ton of people doing Java still, so they are probably targeting the biggest audiences. So, but that was also interesting to know that it's actually using different models. I'm not sure how GitHub Copilot works, but I would assume it's using mostly the OpenAI model. Maybe
we can also mention like different agents. So, and I hope that Q will grow and allow, you know, different agents interact in the same chat. You like ask this agent, so please prepare a plan and do the code base and then check it for security, and it will be a free different agents inside one chat. But
well, yeah, we also had a couple of people with a strong Slavic accent asking Amazon Q guys about the model customizations, and the question that all people with heavy Slavic accent usually ask is, does it support self-hosted GitLab? And it does. Yes, you can point to your self-hosted GitLab. It even has a VPC customization, so you don't need to have your GitLab publicly available. So if your GitLab sitting in AWS VPC, you can actually have there is a VPC connector, so it could access the private GitLab sitting in VPC. Well, I guess if you host your self-hosted GitLab on DigitalOcean, you're out of luck, but well, for VPC it works.
It's an interesting point here because, yeah, Andrey mentioned that it's possible to connect the organization's Git repositories. And I hope that it will possible to use that code base as in a kind of generation process of a queue, because it could let queue write the same code style, same as previous developers do. It's not create a mess in a project, because at the moment with LLM models, they create a different code style each time when you ask them. So it's how to use it.
Yeah, I'm not sure that you would want to use it for style reasons exactly, because usually people don't have a very good style anyway and make a lot of mistakes. But if you have a locally developed library,
exactly,
this is where it would be useful, because then, like, when you start to use this library in your code and you point at the model to location of the library of its repository, so the model can digest it and then give you suggestion based on that library, because then it will be aware of it and how it could be used. So if you have also other repositories using that library, again, model can digest that and copy that code for you. But basically it will do a Control C, Control V for you.
A new developer who just joined the organization, you know, for us it's probably obvious, but if you're a new person, you have no idea where this exists. So
yeah, that might be useful, and that's exactly the reason why I want to spend time learning about this and giving the seminar, because most of our customers, they are startups, they have a very small teams, and every minute of developer time counts. So if you can give them extra time and extra development productivity there, I think that should be very, very good for them. And finally, to close the topic of the summits, I got the box of those AWS Builder cards. So that was a board game that we played together with Vlad. If you go to any of the summits, head to the community corner, like community lounge, I believe it's called. And usually you would find people who develop this game and you can play it and maybe get a box for yourself. I know it's possible to order, but we're gonna use this box I brought from Stockholm to our AWS user group in Las Palmas on the meetup next week. So we're gonna be playing this game there with our local members.
Nice. All right, guys, let's move to the next topic. For the news and tools, I think.
Yeah, maybe
config, right? Oh, yes. Where is it? Here. Yes. Bring it up.
That was that was a quite unexpected find, I would say. And this is something that was added to the AWS config recently. And if you are not aware, AWS config is a tool that you usually use for compliance reasons. So it will record the state of all your resources in your AWS accounts. It's very beneficial to configure it centrally. So all of that information being aggregated in one account. As it's done in this example, as you can see, there is an aggregator called AWS Control Tower, which means that this screenshot comes from the organization that uses Control Tower, and config was configured by Control Tower to aggregate resources into one account. And what they added here is ability to do the natural language queries. So you can do advanced queries here with a SQL-ish like syntax, which you obviously don't know. But one of the benefits of generative AI is that you can type something here, like you can see examples, what are publicly accessible RDS database instances. That's good, and that will convert it to the query, and that will give you all your databases within all your accounts that might be publicly accessible. If you ever used the open source tool called Pipedrive, I believe it's called, they were doing kind of like this, querying that and giving you the query language to query all the information. So you could now do it natively, and obviously it's good for the, for the enumeration and doing the research, what's where. But I really like it for one simple reason. Like when you start to do a multi-account, right? So you start to segregate workloads. You're starting to put things in different accounts, so that developers might actually have hard time knowing what is what. And I've been thinking of giving them a hand and developing a tool that would go and scrape like all AWS accounts we have, or maybe run a cron lambda every 24 hours that will scrape resources within one account, publish that to S3, and then I would just generate from the JSON file from S3 like HTML with overview what is where in our organization. So like, so you know where the ECS clusters are, where the particular task is, where is this API gateway located, because you might know the DNS name, but where is it? You have no idea. And like when you're troubleshooting something live in a multi-account setup and you don't have access everywhere, might be hard. And if like you're working in one particular account all the time, but you need to find something else. So there are a lot of use cases. Like the platform engineering guys might not be thinking, yeah, like Backstage maybe, but I like not using Backstage. So this thing basically gives you API. So it makes a half work for you. You don't need to scrape the resources yourself. You just call this API, tell it, like, give me all my lambdas, give me all my ECS clusters and ECS tasks. And then you just need to build a HTML, which you can do very quickly. I mean, you can write a HTML generator with like Python using Amazon Q, just telling him like, that's my JSON, go build me HTML generator from this JSON, and you're done. So that's a project that I'm thinking about if I get some free time to do, because I think would be very cool and very helpful for developers. But it requires config aggregator and AWS organization configure, because otherwise you would need to go and run through all accounts and collect the config data, which is not ideal.
Great. I see AWS putting this in a lot of services, right? CloudWatch also has the natural language query, and yeah, super nice. I think it's useful, as you said, in a multi-account strategy where you have a lot of resources spread across places. Great, super cool to see. I think we ended the news and tools section, right? Also spoke about the AWS announcements. Is there any other announcements you'd like to bring up and to discuss? I don't think so, right?
Yeah, there could be more of the interest, but we had quite intense 2 weeks. Those were the ones that brought our, that picked our interest and something that we're going to be using straight away. So like usually we're using that as a filter. If there is something that you're going to use straight away, let's talk about that. Those were the two.
I know it's not an announcement, but one thing that I used recently is the Amazon Q for network troubleshooting. So you can also type, for example, please test the connection between my EC2 instance to something like RDS instance, and then you can type it, and then it creates like the reachability analyzer. So you can use Amazon Q there. So I see a trend, like all services will get this ability to transform plain English into commands, which is very good, right?
Yeah, I think it's one of the very obvious applications of GenAI, and that seems to be spreading everywhere.
Yeah.
So GenAI is not taking over yet. Just
Yeah. And when I
removing
was
the need to learn SQL.
yes, I fully agree. And you guys touched upon a topic that is super important. It's the confidentiality, right? Because once you're sharing your source code with LLMs and model will be trained on top of your source code that sometimes or almost always is private, how do you deal with this, right? Ambiguity, because you want to get like suggestions, but at the same time, you don't want to share your internal source code. So it's a challenge that needs to be faced by all companies.
Yeah,
right?
Amazon Q basically creates a model private to your organization.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're using Pro version.
AWS actually solving that problem at the moment. Because if you compare with other tools to Amazon Bedrock or Amazon Q, it's one point here is the privacy. So
Yeah.
privacy with the data control and all the calls, they're still recorded in the cloud trail.
Yeah.
They're much more private here because you get your own piece of cloud.
Yeah, fully agree. Okay, guys, what if we move to the main topic of this live, which is AWS credentials for CI/CD? Shall we?
Let's do that.
Yeah, let me bring it up. The question from developers, right? How do I provide AWS credentials to my CI/CD workers? Very common question, right? I think I got this 100 of times when I was working for AWS. We still get it, right? As at
People
FivexL.
still ask this a lot.
Yeah,
Each
a lot,
time
right?
we will talk about temporary credentials for humans or operators. That will come up as well. So
yeah.
I thought we would talk about that one more time. That would be enough.
And also, this is a overlooked issue because usually people think, okay, I will get the credentials, I will save somewhere and use it. But here I would like to bring another point of view, right? Because what if the credentials are leaked? What if they are expired? What if something happens, right? Because yeah, you need
Circle
to
Circle CI.
Yeah.
Got everyone's credentials leaked.
Yes,
like
you did.
Like a year ago. So that's real. I mean, and also the threat actors, they understand that the CI engine is something that would have keys from the kingdom.
Yes.
So that's a huge target for them to get in and try to get the credentials, right?
Yeah, this is the surface attack.
Customers.
Yeah, surface attack, right? I think 2 years or 3 years ago, company pinged me desperate because some credentials were leaked and hackers got the credentials and then they started like spinning up EC2 instance for Bitcoin mineration and all this stuff. So accidentally they put the credentials in a public GitHub repository, nobody paid attention, and then the disaster is set to happen, right? So of course this is I would say a naive example, right? Because you're just pushing stuff to the cloud.
I think pushing the credentials to GitHub will not work any longer. So I believe actually GitHub now scans and rejects that. And also AWS scans for credentials themselves on a GitHub. As soon as it sees the credentials, they will put the quarantine policy on them.
But how fast is it? It's like immediately?
Some minutes.
Nearby. It's pretty fast. So
okay, awesome. All right, let me just bring, I think you have a slide, right, Andrey? Where is it? Oh, yes.
I have a screen.
Screen here, yes.
Right. So we should recognize that there are actually multiple cases the way you deal with workers. You could have self-hosted workers, and you could have the managed workers by your CI/CD system. So let's imagine that you have the github.com, gitlab.com, right? Those will come with their own workers that you can use. And then you have something called OpenID Connect that you can configure on your AWS account. And I actually gonna show you what the doc says about that, so you could So you need to go to your IAM and add IDC provider. There are instructions. Are we looking at the GitLab example? And then when you create that provider, and I will show you more details of how to do that a little bit later, you could also create a role that will have the following trust policy. So you could see it's federated, and it will expect someone coming from OIDC from that domain with a token. So it will have the web identity token, and then it can exchange that token for the credentials, temporary AWS credentials. And you can even limit to which repository, which branch it works. It works the same way for GitLab and for GitHub. So here you have the assume role thingy that you give your URL, and as you can see, there is gitlab-example.com, which means that it also works for your self-hosted GitLab if you have one of those. And there are working examples if you like. And if you navigate to the GitHub, you actually have a very similar kind of instruction here. They give you the idea of how to configure the provider. Then you would have the same looking trust policy. The language here will be a little bit different, but not so that you need to spend a lot of time. So you need to give the permission to use the tokens, and then you could use that in your GitHub actions. There is a ready to use action to assume the role. So you need to give it a role to assume, give the session name, give it the region, and then you will automatically get the temporary credentials via STS. Then we need to mention the way how you can create a provider, right? So in order to create a provider, you don't need to do it yourself because there are Terraform models. And if you go to submodels here, they actually have the GitHub OIDC provider submodel, and that's Terraform AWS models IAM. So you can get into provider, and it's quite easy to create. There are additional inputs you could provide, so like tags, URL, and so on and so on. You could also configure that for the GitHub Enterprise. You've got that one. You could get to the actual repository and see, I believe there should be examples.
I think here you can find the both.
What's that?
Both provider and role. So they
yeah, exactly. So here they create a provider, and then they're using that provider to create a role. Right. So that's a role.
Yeah, you can also mention the interesting subject. In the past, we talk about, like I said, it could be per branch, right? But here in a GitHub, in a subject, we can see it could be limited to a pull request. So it could be very interesting way of providing credentials. And you also could mention that it's not only for GitHub and GitLab, it's not limited to that. It's or OIDC or OpenID. It's a wide framework, so it could be founded in different places. So not just GitHub, GitLab. So if you use any kind of any over CI/CD tools, just check them out. I think we already support that way of authentication.
Yeah, look here, another application of OIDC is actually getting the EKS cluster. So the EKS cluster will act as a provider, and then they will be able to get the role, so that the pods will be able to assume this role. Like the pods that have those service accounts will be able to assume the role and get the temporary credentials. So it works the same way. You don't have to be CI/CD, and don't have to be exactly GitHub, GitLab. Bringing those up because they're the most often used ones, but there are more applications for OIDC. you can have.
Yeah. Whereas the OpenID Foundation website, openid.net, and if someone is interested in how it works, how it's technically happens, so like a bunch of information related to that.
Right. And that's how you do the temporary credentials, and that would be the best when you need to share that with CI/CD tool managed workers. But you might also have your own workers, right? So like the workers running in your VPC, or maybe on your own private data center, what have you. So let's start with self-hosted workers running in your private VPC. There it's generally quite easy, and that will be not very different from your applications. So if you're running on EC2, use IAM install profile. If you're using ECS Fargate, like Jenkins can do that. So Jenkins can provision agents using ECS Fargate. Again, give them the role to assume. So, and you don't need to pass actual keys that would be static. So you want to avoid static keys as much as you can. Since those, if leaked, they could be used indefinite, plus it's CI/CD. So usually those will be quite powerful. So you'll have a lot of permissions attached to them, allowing people to do a lot of stuff like changing your networking, maybe changing your IAM. So that's why you want to really go with the temporary credentials wherever possible. And then finally, if it's outside of AWS, you still have options of IAM anywhere, I believe it's called, like where you use certificates to authenticate workloads so they can get temporary credentials. And the same with ECS anywhere, you could try to get the permissions there. So the temporary credentials there. So there are ways, and don't fall for the path of least resistance, just creating the keys and sharing those. And like even now, you know, if you try to go to the AWS IAM and create a user and then give it the keys, AWS will actually tell you like, what are you doing? That's not the best thing to do. If that user will be used by humans, AWS Identity Center, go do SSO. If that is for workload, use roles instead. So AWS trying to point people in the right direction, which is very good. But I think not many people still reading those messages.
Yeah, but you know, inside one project, we actually implement the SCP deny policy and deny creating IAM users at all in the whole organization. If someone just, I don't know, skip a whole checkboxes and so on, so it's still not possible to do.
Yeah, like then you can figure out some exception for them, but you really want to have this discussion each time it's being created. So you want them to fail, you want them to come to you and have this conversation, because in majority of the cases, 99%, you would have a better way.
Cool, guys. Nice topic. I was trying to find the thing that I read a couple of weeks ago, but I can't. But anyways, I can... Oh, I found it. Yeah. IAM roles anywhere is the name of... Yeah. Cool. With that, we concluded the third topic. Is there anything else you guys want to bring up or discuss or say?
I think that was it for today. The only thing maybe to mention is that we're gonna be potentially discussing increasing frequencies of the frequency of those recordings. So going from once per month, maybe going to once every 3 weeks. So we'll see if that happens. You might think, if you like it, if you like what you see, let us know.
Yes, please do. If you don't like, please also tell us. Huh? It's always important.
We're open for any kind of feedback.
Yes. So we're going to be meeting in person next week, right? There's a mini get-together, a FivexL get-together in last 12 months. So we're going to be discussing the future and also elaborating more on the topics that we discuss here. And we come back here and record new videos to you. The intention here again is to translate things into plain English and to help you to understand the AWS cloud and strategies around the cloud engineering and all this stuff. You know it, right? Andrey and Vlad, thanks a lot for your time. I really appreciate you that have been watching so far. If you watched until the end, what are you gonna give them, Andrey? You always have a prize.
No prize. And hugs.
Yes. All right. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye.